In this video, I'm going to be talking about data types in Python. The first data type I'm going to talk about is an integer. Integer, often abbreviated as int. And what is an integer? Well, integer is the same integer that you learned in your 5th grade math class. Simply whole numbers. 5, 2, 0, -3. All of these are examples of integers. And when you store data, or when your computer does anything with data in Python, it's going to use data types. And one of the data types that you can possibly use in Python is an integer. 5, 2, 0, -3 are all examples of this. 10, 100,000 would be an example of this as well, right? All right, how about the next one? How about a float? Well, a float has no really abbreviation. People just say float. And some couple examples of this would be 3.2, see 5.4, even 3.0, and 2.111. Right? All of these are examples as floats. And float is just anything with a decimal place. Anything. 3.0 is 3 as well, right? Well, if you write down 3.0 in your code, it's stored as a float. Your computer recognizes it as a float, not as an integer. So keep that in mind. If you even have a 0.0 in there, you have a float. All right. So anything with even just a single decimal, you have a float. All right. That's very important to differentiate that because, well, I guess not as important in Python, but it's important to differentiate these things because of some ways that computers do math. Let's say that. And you'll figure that out, of course, throughout your coding career and as you get errors. But keep this in mind. If you write 3.0, this is a float, but 3 is an integer. So this right here is a float in your computer, but this right here is an integer. Keep that in mind. Anything with just any decimals is a float. I don't know how many times I repeated that. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Let's talk about a Boolean. So what is a Boolean? Well, a Boolean is simply, let's use a good color, true or false. That is all. Now keep in mind, Booleans in Python have to have an uppercase T and uppercase F. In different coding languages like C, you use true with a lowercase and false with a lowercase. But in Python, you need to capitalize the T and the F. So if you just write down true, this is not going to be a Boolean. Or what did I say? Boolean. Boolean in Python. And this is also not going to be a Boolean in Python. You have to have the uppercase. Now the thing about Booleans is that they can also be represented by integers. So an example of this would be true is equal to 1 and false is equal to 0. Now, when you do something called typecasting, which I have a video on that in the Python playlist down in the description if you want to learn more about Python. But when you do something called typecasting and you turn a Boolean into an integer, so yes, you can turn Booleans into integers. You can also turn floats into integers. For example, you could turn this 3.0 into an integer, 3, right? But when you turn true into, when you turn integers into Booleans, oh my god, it's the backwards. When you turn integers into Booleans, so some number, let's say you want to turn 5 into a Boolean, you get true, no matter what, unless the number is 0. So every single number here, 5, 2, -3, 100,000, 10,000, that's not, around 100,000, and -5, right? All of these numbers are marked as true, all right? So anything other than 0 is true. But you'll learn about that in the typecasting video that I make. And the last data type is a string. Now maybe you've heard of this. String could be abbreviated as stir. Sorry, I guess I should have wrote down the abbreviation of Boolean. Boolean can be abbreviated as bool sometimes, so don't be confused if you see bool. It just means Boolean most of the time. String can be abbreviated as stir. And an example of a string would be quotes, hello. All right. So keep in mind, if you want a string inside of Python, you need to put your quotes. Now, single quotes and double quotes don't really have that much of a difference in Python. So if you see these single quotes as well, you can say that's a string. So typical convention, you're going to use double quotes for anything other than single characters. But a string is just anything in quotes. Another example of a string, besides hello, is also just quotes 1. 1 is an integer, correct? But since it's in quotes, this is treated as a string inside of your computer. So it's important to know these data types in Python because they can help you do math and they can help you interpret what's going on, what your computer is actually doing in the code. Because rather than just memorizing everything, you can know what it's doing, and then now you don't have to memorize it. You could just search up, the syntax for what you're doing, and then, or search up the code for what you're trying to do, and then, since you know how to explain it, the computer or Google will know how to give you some results. So these right here, integers, just simply whole numbers. Floats, anything with a decimal place, including 0.0, including 0.0000 as well. Booleans, true or false. True is often. True can be written as 1, false can be written as 0. And strings, anything in quotes. No matter what is inside the quote, unless you give some special characters, which you'll keep that in mind. But as long as you have anything inside of quotes, these are treated as strings. But that's all for the video. If you have any questions, put it on in the comment section. And if you found this video helpful, consider subscribing and liking the video. Thank you for watching.